Welcome to my season one, episode one review of Frontier. Pretty much we're introduced to the conflict of this episode, straight off the gate, straight out of the gate. So, pretty much, it established that King James II pretty much has given the Hudson Bay Company the land of the Aboriginals, which the Aboriginals had for around 1,000 years, which allowed the Hudson Bay Company to pretty much dominate and monopolize their fur trading industry. But around the late 1700s, you have the Scottish, you have the Americans, and the French who are undermining that authority and taking their own pieces of that fur trading, you know, monopoly. So essentially, there's a lot of bloody battles that ensure because of this. So right after that, we're introduced to Declan Harp. We see three British soldiers. They're beat the hell up. They're bloody. They got black eyes. And who else knows? And we see Declan Harp just sharpening his knife. One of the soldiers is begging, saying, "Please have mercy, forgive us." And Declan's like, "Nah, this isn't your land. We'll meet again someday." And then he cuts the dude's throat. And it seemed because there was three of them, it seems as though he actually had a little bit more sympathy for that guy because he just cut his throat. The other ones, he just straight up massacred. Like, kept stabbing the second dude, cutting his throat, like prolonging it. The other dude, I think he cut off his genitals. The third guy. It seems as though, yeah, there was actually a soldier watching this, and he's caught by one of the natives. And this dude's in fear, and Declan says, "Do you know who I am, boy?" And the British soldier's like, "Yeah, you're Declan Harp, such and such." And Declan Harp's like, "Listen, I want you to tell your superiors about this. Let them know." And the and the British soldier runs off, and one of Declan's boys is like, "Hey, they're gonna know where you are. They're gonna know what we're doing, all this stuff." Declan's like, "I don't care. I'm counting on it." So, in the next scene, we see Officer Chesterfield, and he's reading off pretty much what that soldier in the previous scene wrote down about his encounter with Declan. Pretty much, the soldier goes more in detail, saying that Declan took a cashier of pelts, he took around 16 muskets, and he took around 2 weeks' provision. And with the soldiers, at first, he removed most of their skin. Then he disemboweled them, cut off their fingers, and if they still lived, he pretty much cut their genitals off. And sitting right there, listening to this, is Lord Bennington, who is in charge of the Hudson Bay Company. And he's like impressive. He's he's literally impressed by it. Like, not bad. And Chesterfield, he's pissed off. He's like, "Listen, wait." Actually, he says to him, "You know what? I guess this would be impressive to you, Lord Benton, due to your legend." Because pretty much saying that it's something that Benton is known for doing himself, but to even more gruesome degree. And Benton is like, "What do you know of Declan Harp?" Like, pretty much in a way of saying, like, "What do you know? You don't know nothing about the situation and whatnot." So Chesterfield's like, "I know he's half Irish. I know he's half, he's half British. I mean, no, he's half Irish and he's half native." And we also figure out that he actually was working under Bennington for a time, and for some reason he betrayed Bennington, the Hudson Bay Company, and joined up with the natives. And Lord Bennington is like, "Listen, when it comes to getting information, the best way to get information is to make them talk." Chesterfield mentions the fact that I believe that Declan cut off one of the people's tongues. We cut off their tongues as well. And Lord Benton's like, "That's not the way to go. If you cut off a man's genitals, then he'll talk." And Chesterfield's like, "Listen, if you let me and my men go to the New World, I guarantee you, In 2 days, we'll have Declan and his supporters hanged and quartered, and I can give you any piece of Declan that you want. And Lord Benton's like, no, Declan has cost our company millions of dollars profits. It's my job to oversee his destruction. But we just can't kill the man. We have to make an example of him. So after that, the next scene we see that we're introduced to the character of Michael Smith and his friends, whose names I forgot, but it's obvious, they're poor, you know, orphans more than likely, and they're trying to find a way to escape their pretty much their shitty lives for the most part in London. So Michael devises an idea, a plan to try to get on the boat that's heading towards Fort James, I believe. So it's obvious that Michael and the girl are sort of in love. They have feelings for each other. Later that night, Michael, the girl, and her brother, they're able to sneak onto the ship, but her brother's killed and she's caught while Michael is sort of hanging around in the food section of the ship. So, the next scene we after that, we're brought to Fort James, and we're introduced to Father Coffin, I believe. So he enters the alehouse, and he's speaking to this really gorgeous, bartender, and it's obvious they have history, and they're talking, and we see the fat drunk Governor Threshold, I think is his name. So, anyways, Father Coffin's like, you know what? I've been doing so much holy work, my lady. I think, I'm kind of low on money, but I think you can forgive me. And she's like, she pulls the brandy away from him and says, you know what, Father? All right, you don't have to give me money, but there's something else I want. So he gives her information in regards to an upcoming ship that's coming, that he says is led by a senior official, and that he has to be of great importance. So the drunk governor goes more in detail about that, saying that the senior official's name is Lord Bennington. They fought the Prussians together, and that he saved his life twice in 1 week. So, and also he tries to make a move on the bartender, saying that he wants to, essentially have intercourse with her. But she's like, I'm wearing breeches today. And he goes about his business, trying to buy out the bar, essentially. But anyways, back to the conversation in regards to, the priest and the bartender. And he's concerned about this, saying that, it's bad enough the Hudson Bay Company's coming with their head honcho, but they're backed by the entire land of England. And the bartender takes it as another way. She's like, this isn't bad. This is opportunity. So the next scene, we see Michael being caught by the cook. And before he gets caught, it should be known that the cook actually stole one of Lord Bennington's rings. And he was trying to blame the young boy, try to pretty much make him a scapegoat. And when he brings Michael to Lord Bennington was literally just about to throw the dude, over the boat. So, Michael tells him about how the cook pretty much stole Lord Benton's rings and was going to blame the boy for it. So, the cook's all saying the boy's a bloody liar. Benton thinks about it, observes the situation, and then Benton himself, heartlessly, with the quickness, just stabbed the cook straight in the abdomen. He dead. So, from that, Michael earns Lord Bennington's trust. And later on that night, him and Lord Benton make a deal. Benton's aware of the fact that Michael's his friend, is pretty much in jail, awaiting to be executed over in London. He makes a deal with Michael saying, listen, if you find me Declan Harp, get some type of information on him, then we can work out a deal in which she's set free, la-di-da, and all that stuff. And Michael's like, okay, they agree and they shake hands. But Officer Chesterfield is not feeling this. He does not trust the boy. He thinks he's just a vagrant, loser, orphan. a street monger. And Lord Benton's like, listen, the boy's in love, so he's gonna do what he has to do to get her out. And second, it's best to have our own version of the Trojan horse, essentially. So the next scene, we see Declan meeting with a French fur trader and Rouvard. So Declan pretty much gives him, his fur, whatever, and all that stuff. And he lets I think Rouvard mentions the fact that, so, how much more are you gonna get for me? And Declan's like, enough for you, you know. And Rubard's like, you don't. I guess you don't quite understand my French. And Declan's like, yeah, I do understand, quite clearly, but I rather speak with your boss. And Ruvard's like, I don't have a boss. I'm my own boss. And Declan's like, no, your boss is the highest bidder, Samuel Grant, a rich American a rich American fur trader, I believe, that works in Montreal. And Rivard's like, has that look like, damn, this dude, how do you figure that out? And he's like, well, I have many people I work with. And pretty much, he says, I don't have time for this. I just, I don't want to deal with this. And Harper's like, oh, well, then I'll just take my business to one of your competitors. And Ruvard's like, okay, hold it. I'll try to make a meeting with him. All right? But you better not cut me out of this. And Declan's like, don't ever underestimate your position in this. You're only the middleman. And make the meeting. So after that, we see Ruvard pretty much meet up with Samuel Grant. And he tells Samuel Grant that he has to come with him to meet one of his, to meet Declan over in the north. And Samuel Grant doesn't really want that because he's like, Declan Harp, isn't he that pretty much cutthroat animal that betrayed the Hudson Bay Company and now lives with the natives? And he's really dismissive of that until Ruvard is like, listen, you guys are both smart, you're both ambitious, you're both on the rise. Declan's power is growing by the second, and it's best to do business with him because we could all make a whole lot of money out of this. And it will hurt me, sir, if you miss out on the opportunity of a whole lot of money. So Grant agrees to this, but he says once again, he has to meet here with me, not the other way around. So after that, we see Michael Smith pretty much getting off the boat in Fort James, heading to trying to find, I believe he's supposed to have a guide actually to help him find Declan. But one of the soldiers who actually killed his friend, his lover's brother, Michael has a little bit of a talk with him in a way. He's all saying, you bastard, you killed my friend. And the guy's unapologetic, he doesn't give a shit. And he says if he doesn't stop bitching, he's going to stab him in the chest. And ironically, the soldier bumps into one of the natives in the town, and he talks shit to him, and the native, out of nowhere, just stabs the dude straight in the back of the neck, and he's dead. So this causes a ruckus in the town. Everyone's looking at Michael as if he did it, but Father Coffin comes just in time, scoops him up, saying that we had to get you away from this because, we don't want the people talking. So after this, we have pretty much Father Coffin saying, listen, I'll help. I'm the guide that Lord Benton gave to you. I'll help you find Harper if you have the right price. Do you have the right price? And Michael looks at it, he's like, yeah, I think I have the right price, to find my countrymen. So they're at the bar, they're talking, and the bartender, whose name is Hemberly, I believe, she's overseeing their conversation, and she wondered what's going on, so she has one of her ladies, whatever, pretty much watched and observed them. So, after this, we find that Father Coffin and Michael had a little bit too much to drink, and Michael wakes up literally in the middle of the woods, and he wakes up just in time as Father Coffin's like, Michael, you're awake. We have a little bit of trouble. And literally, they're running away from people shooting at them. Apparently, Father Coffin owed those people money, essentially. So we cut straight to Chesterfield and Lord Bennington and with Hemberley. Find out that pretty much Hemberley's working with Chesterfield and Bennington. She tells him about Michael, saying that he doesn't have a guide. He's nervous. He's with this priest in a bar, and that was essentially it, you know. And Bennington's happy about the information he received, and he gives one of his lady servants to Hemberley, which she didn't want, but he insisted and she took. And Chesterfield's like, I don't trust this woman. And Lord Benton, once again, thinking with his head, thinking big picture, he's like, listen, we have eyes now at that bar. So just in case she tries to screw us over, we squash her like a bug. You know? So, essentially after that, he pretty much tells Chesterfield that you have to find Michael and give him his guide. So Chesterfield is able to find Michael and the priest, and he says, what are you doing with this priest? This isn't your guide. This guy is supposed to be your guide. And the priest is trying to talk his way out of this, and Chesterfield's like, oh, for God's sake, shut the hell up before I close your mouth permanently. You know? So they take Michael and the priest. Well, I think he gives a certain group to Michael and the priest for them to watch over him while he heads back to where Lord Bennington is at. So while this is happening at nighttime, we see the natives attack the group that Michael and Father Coffin is in. And they take Michael and Father Coffin and they actually take them to where where Declan Harper is at. And we see Declan Harper pretty much in the process of like cutting the animal, like cutting the fur off and shit, so he's all bloody. And he's asking them, why did you come here? Why are you guys searching for me? So Michael is being honest for the most part, saying that I came here to find you, and I thought this priest was gonna help me, but all he wanted was me money to drink and try to screw women. And and the priest is like, oh, that's not true, Michael. Listen, I'm a priest, Mr. McLean, and I can help save you, save your soul. I also have so many contacts with fur traders. And McLean's like, that doesn't matter to me, bruh. You know, pretty much he sends him to die. And Michael's like, no, I can't have you kill him, bro. And Michael's like, can't, once again, reiterating the fact. And then Declan, which was a very gruesome, was kind of like really like intimidating scene, because Declan has blood all over him at this point. So he has obviously all over his hands. So he grabs Michael by his face and says, listen, boy, you can join him. You can watch. And then Michael says, Lord Bennington sent me. And then Declan, that stops him. He's like, Lord Bennington? He said, tell me more about Lord Bennington and what's the true purpose of you trying to see me? Or else you join the priest. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this episode. I thought this episode was good. It seems as though Michael's going to be a very interesting character. Declan's a badass. Sam Grant seemed interesting because I feel as though he could be both a good or a bad guy. He might walk the line, actually. Rivard, I love him. I love his comedy timing. He's a very funny character. The same could go for Father Coffin. Chesterfield, even though he's a villain, I find him very interesting as well. Lord Benton reminds me of Darth Sidious, so that's always good. You know, in terms of his like being the top dog of what he's ruling, what he's in charge of. And I'm looking forward to watching, you know, these episodes, the more and more episodes of this for season 1. So thank you guys for watching. Like the video if you can, subscribe to my channel, watch the content below. And this is Josh Vision. Adios.